Hi to everybody on Zoom land. It's always like hybrid new world, right? So those of us who are older know I left my heart in San Francisco. My song this week is I found a cold in Minneapolis. Standing back because of all the new protocols, I'm going to stay away from everybody too. That's why I haven't been mingling, but genuinely, appreciate you guys coming and just hearing a little bit about who we are. And when it comes to nonprofits, I do have to say, I think we do it really well. We're one of the few that actually do impact studies with the University of Virginia in order to measure what we do. So we don't just say what we do, we actually measure what we do and measure the impact. And I know that Jen will show you why we think what we do is really special. And I think you might agree when you're done, when you all are done hearing from her. So thank you very much for coming and spending your morning in Bryn Mawr. And this is Jen, the executive director, and I'm going to let her take it from here, and I'll move out of germ land in the back.
Good morning. Thank you all for joining us today. Hello to everybody on Zoom. Thank you, Jim and Vinny, for putting this together, running a nonprofit subgroup, and for just allowing your organization to access our organization in this intimate space where we can share a little bit more about what we do. So I am the executive director of the Herb Forward Foundation. I've had the distinct pleasure of being the only executive director because I was on Shelley's team when she launched the scholarship in honor of her father. And as it expanded and became a 501c3 in 2017, Shelley asked if I would do the job, and I said it would be an honor, and it has been ever since. As Jim mentioned, to Herb Forward, that's a pretty heavy statement because he had such a significant legacy in giving it back, and that's really what our namesake is. So it's the idea of paying it forward, but we wanted Herb to be front and center, so we're herbing it forward over here. So I just want to talk about what we do, and we're going to show you guys a great video at the end of this that shows you what we do, but I wanted you to hear a little bit about the background of our students and how we got to where we are today. So when we established a scholarship in 2014, we were looking to serve students who were paying it back in their communities, but we started as a nationwide scholarship. So we had students all over the world all over the country in those first 2 years. And we were really successful, but we wanted to focus our efforts as we started to grow right in our backyard here in Philadelphia. We realized there are so many incredible young people right here that could really benefit from that exposure of being close together, and we could build an amazing community around these young people that are pursuing these post-secondary opportunities. So since then, through the generosity of our support, we've been able to award over $1 million to 275 students. When people hear about the scholars in our community, we often hear how outstanding they are, and people tend to want to give us credit for that instinctually. And what we like to make abundantly clear is we have not made these young people amazing. They're incredible when we find them, and our role is really to elevate that opportunity and elevate those resources for them to help them be even greater in the future. They are really like some of the most special people that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting with, and each one of them is so unique, and we take the time to build such an individual relationship with each of them because they deserve it. And when you give them a platform, in our opinion, there's truly nothing that they can't do. So when building our model, it was important that we combine academic funding with this amazing community of students and give them access to ourselves and to each other. So I want to talk more about the second pillar of what we do at Herb Forward, and that's really the Herb Forward community. So we're approaching nearly a decade now of working with young people, and that emotional support and that community of like-minded peers, what we've heard from them is that's really almost more important than the funding at the end of the day. There's a lot of scholarship programs out there that just provide funding exclusively, and then they never meet their fellow scholars. They never get a chance to interact. They never get access to new opportunities. It's here's a check, we wish you the best. And they're not measuring it. They're not sustaining that relationship. And that's really, really important to what we do at Herb Forward. And I think one of the things that really distinguishes us from other scholarship programs. The most significant experience where our students come together is through our Herbert Forward Leadership Camp. This June, we're actually hosting our 8th annual leadership camp. This weekend retreat in the Poconos has become pretty legendary among our scholarship community. For our rising first-year students and current college students, this weekend is an opportunity to take some time that's just for them, to put life on hold for a few days. And that's something that not a lot of these students have ever had the chance to do. Just for context, over the last 2 cohorts of students, nearly 60% of our recipients have a household income of $30,000 or less. HIF scholars are so much more for their families than full-time students. Many of them are working while they're in school, often cases taking care of siblings, relatives, and serving as an example for the younger people in their neighborhood. And we hear time and time again, to be able to let that all go for a few days is truly life-changing. For our alumni, it's a chance for them to serve as counselors and shape an amazing weekend experience for the next group of scholars, proving it forward within HIF itself. During this weekend, in addition to having the chance to experience nature through boating, hiking, the joy of embracing play through relays and different games, students are also given a space to explore and gain education on important topics that help them become stronger leaders. For example, our 2023 camp highlighted intercultural communication and how to best prepare for environments and interactions where people don't have the same cultural context as you. We also took the time to celebrate our individual cultures, and we were able to find a connection through that process. So what does something like that look like? We opened up our weekend with an activity called the Web of Connection. So we had 100 students in a giant circle, and we had a ball of yarn, and each student would be passed the ball of yarn at some point in the process. And they had the opportunity to say their name, their culture, and that culture could be anything. It could be your ethnic background. It could be a subgroup that you found connection with, but something that you identify with that you're proud of, and share what exactly makes you proud of that moment in your culture and that experience in your culture. And by the time we were done, we had this amazing tangled web of multiple colors of yarn, and each student was holding it. And together we built this web of connection while celebrating our individuality. And it was a really, really powerful exercise for the students. We also even have our own students now leading workshops at these camps. So we have 2 students that have had successful careers in real estate. One who has developed and actually now leases out properties through Airbnb in the city, and another who has become a successful real estate agent and sells properties in Rittenhouse Square. So the 2 of them came together and did a presentation to the younger students just to tell them maybe where their journey started and how they got to where they ended up, and what opportunities might exist in a space like real estate that some of them may have not considered. So we're really at every juncture trying to give the alumni students a chance to connect and show the younger students, because who better to hear advice from than somebody who walked your path and is now on the other side of it. So I want to note that we do also take the time to deepen and sustain these connections throughout the year. So the leadership camp is really our capstone event. It's all the hype around the kids. They get very excited for it, but we do have, much like Beacon, we have a holiday party every year while they're home on break. We have volunteering events throughout the entire school year for the students that are local. We do, we call them like art therapy sessions on Zoom, where our mentorship program hosts a space and they all draw a project together and they just talk and get some moments that are just common for them. We have a great relationship with other Philly organizations like the Salvation Army and Philly House. So we've established really deep connections with other nonprofits in the city as well, just to help them amplify our work while giving our students access to things we know are important to them, like these volunteer opportunities. We pride ourselves on keeping a great connection with our students through college and beyond. I think the best way to share that with you is we literally know every student's birthday, and we wish every student in our organization, whether they're here for year 1 or they've been here for 8 years, we wish them a happy birthday. And they say how much that means to them, because they don't have a ton of people in their life that are following through in the way that we're able to follow through. So all of these events and efforts, when paired together, create who we are. The Herbert Forward Foundation is built on this commitment to students, and I want to share a statement from one of our students who has now started her career and continues to stay engaged with Herbert Forward as a counselor at our leadership camps. HIF is by far the best program I've ever been a part of and has played a vital role in molding the adult I've become today. The organization goes far beyond a scholarship for school. They truly care about every single person who has the privilege of being a member of this community. From undergrad to postgraduate and everything in between, HIF has been there, going above and beyond to ensure that our next generation of leaders, creators, and innovators has everything they need to be successful in school and life. Thank you, HIF. It's an honor to call myself a scholar.
I'm good, yeah, I'm feeling alright. Baby, I'ma have the best freaking night of my life. And wherever it takes me, I'm down for the ride. Baby, don't you know I'm good, yeah, I'm feeling alright.
When I meet someone, I try to make an impact on their lives.
Resilient is a really good adjective to describe me to someone who doesn't know me at all.
I'm very optimistic and look at the glass from a half full point of view.
I'm determined, but I'm also open to new ideas.
I really do enjoy helping people. That's my main focus.
I'm usually very determined and have a very positive mindset.
I always have a goal that I'm striving towards, and that helps me keep focused, that helps me keep organized, that helps me keep going.
I'm a very humble person. I'm always willing to help, give a helping hand.
I enjoy volunteering to help other people.
I always want to give people a voice or give someone a platform to express their ideas.
I'm always trying to find solutions to complex problems.
I'm a person of integrity, honesty.
I'm a very socially active, like a social butterfly.
I would describe myself as a creative individual. I really do enjoy making music with other people.
I'm always willing to meet new people, and I just love exploring.
I'm responsible. I'm very caring. I laugh a lot. I don't know why.
If I can say, hey, I made somebody, feel better, do better, that just makes me feel great.
All of us together can really make a difference in our own lives as well as our community.
I didn't come to camp with any expectations, but getting here, it kind of like blew my mind, like just the positive energy.
Every single person has a unique story. We all come from different backgrounds, and that's what makes it special.
I feel like you can just disconnect from the outside world, but connect to everyone here.
I'm feeling like this might be my time to shine with you, with you, with you.
I made connections with people. I got a lot of new insightful information. Not only was it fun, but I learned a lot.
The community is just outstanding.
Yeah, like we're here together and we're here to be leaders.
Like that you allow people to be able to interact with each other and meet other people who are part of the community, so like they can build networks and talk to other people in different fields and get it like a sense of, hey, we can do this.
They are people that I can go to and I could get advice from or help from whenever I need it.
They are so nice for having these activities for us and allowing us to experience such great environment.
You go out into the nature with other students and doing different kind of activities.
I really want to go to get out of my comfort zone more.
I can bring my positivity, energy, and eagerness to get involved.
I wanna try everything, I wanna try even though I could fail.
One of the best ways that you improve yourself is you can learn a lot from people that's different than you.
I can talk and I can open up to new people, and I don't have to be so close in to myself.
I realized that connecting with people and talking to people and putting yourself out there and making sure people know who you are and what you want to do is a great way to just further yourself in life.
I can utilize those resources to be able to better myself and pay it forward in whatever way I can.
Being able to be surrounded by this community, we're able to create a bigger change in the world that we want to see.
It took one person to take me under their wing and mentor me, and that was the light bulb.
My perspective on like my future changed. I wanted something different for myself, I'm a very detail-oriented person, and I'm very organized with anything.
I'm gonna have a great group of support and friends.
OLB, we are Golden, can't be beat.
This is where I belong. I'm just grateful for this opportunity.
I'm very glad that we are able to stay connected even in the midst of a pandemic.
My favorite activity is like baking. Done a lot of that.
My favorite activity right now is watching Shameless on Netflix.
I found that it was actually enjoyable to just kind of like slow down and enjoy the time and spend for yourself.
I hope that no matter what everybody's going through, that we all stay strong, stay positive, and always remember to never forget your worth.
I brought a dream catcher because Herbert Ford helps us capture our dreams through support and community.
Hearing from you throughout the year, constantly checking on me, that would mean a lot to me.
I'm grateful for all of you guys, and I'm so glad that we got to see everyone in this one big group chat.
Nothing's gonna stop us now.
I like to think of myself as someone who really likes to bring people together, being a leader, but also inspiring others to become leaders too.
I want to be known as a person who's not afraid to represent people that are forgotten.
I am very passionate about creating a culture of sustainability, and I really want to work in the engineering aspect of saving the environment.
Medicine is something I'm passionate about. That's the main reason why I wanted to become a physician's assistant.
I hope I get to travel to third world countries and make a difference there. We can take our resources and distribute them to places who don't have them.
Many people have paid it forward to me, and I hope that I can pay it forward to other people as well.
I'm very passionate about healthcare accessibility and affordability because I come from a marginalized community, and I hope that they'll be saying that I accomplished a lot throughout my life.
I want to make sure that I can be seen as a leader and someone that motivates others to be the best that they can be.
What motivates me is the idea that if we have a greater understanding of ourselves, we are able to live in as healthy a way as possible.
I am passionate about helping my community be a healthier community, and I try to do my best to be a role model.
I hope that I'll be able to start my own business and fulfill my potential as a community leader.
I personally want to work in like the nonprofit sector once I graduate, and then I'm looking to run for office or work in public policy or something like that.
I'm passionate about helping others. What motivates me is knowing that one day I'll make that change or be that difference in someone's life.
I'm interested in engineering because I'm very interested in solving problems, and I have to become successful in order for me to help other people.
I just want to be remembered as, someone who's able to, put a smile on somebody else's face even when I was being down.
I may have started out as an underdog, and I didn't seem like I was going to go far, but I pushed through it and I made everyone proud, and my hard work shone through, and I was always optimistic in the end.
Keep moving forward with whatever you're doing, don't ever stop. Always try to do better.
Reach for the stars, and whatever you want, you can get. It's all you. I'm ready to go out into the world and show them who I am.
With the friends that we can't forget. This is how you change the world. Let's ride.
So with that said, I want to thank you all again for being here, and I'm really, really excited for you to see these kids in action in the video that we're going to share. This is a video that we put together for our 2023 college graduates, and as you're watching this, just keep in mind, what makes Herbert Forward different is that our program doesn't end in a check, it begins with one. Thank you.
Yeah, how do they qualify for the scholarship?
Sure. So we have a very competitive application process. So phase one of the application process is paper application. It's mostly essay based, which does us some natural curbing of people who are interested right out of the gate, because we have, I want to say, 6 essays in our application, really asking about their character, asking about their service, their involvement in their schools and their communities, and their aspirations for the future. So we are not a merit scholarship. There's a lot of those out there and they're really great. But we wanted to give opportunities to people that don't always have access to opportunities. So our GPA threshold is a little bit lower. We usually look for like a 2.7 just to get people access. And we are really looking at community involvement, community service. The other important qualifier is that they are from low income households. And the way that we qualify that is we ask for proof of their household income, typically through their FAFSA, and we measure those numbers against the reduced lunch guidelines that are issued by the federal government for the school system, so that we can ensure financially the students are all from a level playing field and they have similar backgrounds and experiences in that regard.
2 questions. Is this, when you have class of 2023, are they graduating from their undergrad, for example, in 2023?
Correct. Yeah. So we have like our cohorts, and that would be like the Herbert Forward class of 2023 would be the 32 scholars that we welcomed into the community last year. And then they have like the graduating class of 2023. So that's all the students that are now completed their undergrad and would become alumni in the Herbert Forward community.
Okay, great. And then can you talk about what your mentorship program is like? Who do you want as mentors? What are they doing with your students?
Sure. So there's kind of 2 elements. Our primary mentorship program is actually a peer-to-peer mentorship program. As I mentioned earlier, the advice being most impactful from people that have walked a similar path as you. So our juniors, seniors, and graduates can all mentor freshmen and sophomores. And then those students that typically were mentored then become mentors in their junior, senior, or graduate experience. But then we have previously in the past, and we're talking about possibly getting it started back up, have had outside mentors come in, and we're calling them professional mentors, to help with our recent graduates or soon to be graduates with resume review, interview skills, and just getting exposure to people who have had, a longer career and what that trajectory looks like, and helping them understand that you don't always start out in the penthouse, you kind of got to work your way up, and what does that journey look like? And what are some of the benefits for having that work experience, right? Rather than starting your own business right away or starting your own organization right away, what can you gain from having that exposure to other people and weaving into existing infrastructures and getting that corporate experience? Sure.
Yeah, the whole mentor idea is something that would be interested to talk further about it too, because Beacon has a whole bunch of people that on a regular basis go out and just try to help folks.
That would be wonderful. Yeah, I think we would love to, anybody that's interested in that, either through Jim or through myself. I have some cards on the table over here. You can reach out to me directly and we can talk about your industry and where you might be interested in offering your time. And I know that the students and grads are always grateful for anybody just to bounce their resume off of, because there's just, once you leave college, there's a certain amount of access you get after, but it's not as easy as what you have available to you while you're actually enrolled. So
So the students are local, but then they go, I got confused, it's national because they go to national.
Right, so the students all have to be in Philadelphia or the greater Philadelphia area at the time of their application.
Right.
But we don't put any barriers on where they can attend university. Yeah, it's just we want to make sure they feel freedom in that choice.
Yeah.
So that's why we host virtual events throughout the year as well, to support those students while they're enrolled, somewhere that's unreachable to Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them went to Lehigh.
That was a big Lehigh year. It's representative of the average student in our program, but that was a very strong Lehigh year. We do find that actually a lot of our students end up attending school in Philly. We have a tremendous amount of students at Drexel, tremendous amount of students at Temple, Lehigh. We have a lot of Penn State and University of Pennsylvania as well.
What's the average scholarship amount?
So it's it's renewable for up to 4 years, and we have 3 tiers. Tier 1 is $5,000, and then it kind of tapers down throughout their career. And then 2,500, and then 1,000, and they can renew that up to 4 times. So we kind of say this, just being candid, we're not offering full rides. We're not offering to pay half your tuition. What we're offering, the value really comes in the community. So that's where we put a lot of the funding that we get is right into that programming. So the scholarship amounts are small, but they're really just a gateway to something much bigger.
You know, I want to add in also, one thing we learned from working with the University of Virginia is it's not really the dollar amount that makes it. I mean, yes, they need a certain amount of money to go to school, so I'm never gonna negate that. But they said what they've learned over all these years of researching students is that the idea that there's an organization or group of people or anyone that believes in them and recognizes that they're special and they're supporting them with whatever dollar amount it is a game changer in the life of these kids. And we've heard them say over and over again, you don't understand, in my whole life, no one has ever said they believed in me. Because practically, right, if they're at that income level, I know a little bit about how financial aid, they're gonna end up with the same financial package regardless of where, the university is gonna calculate how much you can afford, and then
yes,
you give them 2,000, they're gonna, but if you give them 5, the university is gonna come up with the other 3 somehow.
Yeah, so what we find with a lot of our students is because they're very active in their community, so they're getting certain scholarships from the university as well. They're getting need-based aid a lot of the time. So even though those amounts are smaller, often it's the difference between them being able to go or not. They're like, oh, I got my aid and I only owe 5, or I only owe 3, and we can make that difference up. And then they're going into year 1 carefree. We can sometimes eliminate their work study, which for a first-year student can make a significant difference if they don't need to allocate that time, and they can fully immerse themselves in the experience. So they're getting access to the same experience that people from more financially able backgrounds are able to have as well, which gives them a chance to compete.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about some of the data that you're collecting, and I wanted to know what the impact is, what you've learned so far with the students that have graduated.
Yeah, so we're getting ready to receive like our final summary, but what we're learning is that being involved in our program, it makes a significant difference in the persistence of enrollment. So I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there's a lot of they call it summer melt. So that happens either the summer you get accepted and then you actually never show up your first day of college, or you do some of year 1 and you leave because of financial circumstances, because of access to the campus. There's 101 different reasons that you hear. So what our program is making real differences is that persistent in enrollment. So our students are staying, once they're getting to campus A, then they're staying on campus and they're making it to graduation. So our graduation rate is hovering around 90%. The average is more like 38% for this type of students that we're working with. So we have definitely, it's affirmed the stories that we hear from the students, right? They tell us, but to actually be able to measure it, we understand that not everybody is the heartfelt story person, and some people want the numbers. So University of Virginia has been amazing. They've helped us get those numbers, and we actually have like it's a lottery system where for a very small subset of the students, they created a control group. So we send them just demographic information, and then they, pick students at random that get the chance to be involved in that program, so that we can prove also that we're really, really good at picking students, which we are really proud of. So the ones that we are choosing fully on our own are very successful. And then the ones that they put through this lottery program are able to be successful as well through access to this opportunity.
And how many students do you have in a cohort each year?
So usually 30 is our mark number, but then occasionally we'll have like a technical school student that we'll make allowances for. So sometimes it can go up to 32 because we really want to reach more vocational students, more technical education students. We know that they don't get marketed to the same way, and that those careers are so important and so fruitful. So we are trying to make sure that if somebody comes in kind of at the last minute, that is a technical student that meets the qualifications, that we can give them that opportunity. So 30 to 32 students annually.
And do those groups meet, like do Zoom calls on a regular basis or?
So we actually have a big kickoff event to bond the cohorts together. So we do this, we call it like a day in Philly. And it's great. We take them to an escape the room, and they break up into 3 different groups, and they work through this escape room scenario together, and they love that. And then from there, we actually go to a cooking class in the city. So they're learning how to prepare their own food, which is hugely important as you move into your adult life. And they're sharing that experience of cooking and eating and talking with their fellow students. And a lot of them make these bonds that are crazy fast, like things that you wouldn't really see in the real world as far as I'm concerned, but in this micro universe that we've built, they have these incredible bonds immediately. For example, like this year, we had several students write to us right after the event and say, I'm coming to camp, but I need my roommate to be this person, because they made such a close bond in these 8 hours that we spent together, that they're already like, this is my best friend, like I'm all in. So.
And now on the other side, we have our first herbivore marriage, people that met each other. Yeah, first herbivore baby, they've been long graduated. So, yeah, definitely relationships are formed. That's what we watch at night at camp.
We've been incident free.
Yeah. So far.
Are there other times they get together though for content? And
Yep, yeah, so we do the Zoom classes, so we do we have speakers come on to Zoom sometimes to do like presentations. We have the art therapy sessions that I mentioned that the mentorship program needs. And then we have our back to school event before everybody, because we have students all over the country now for where they attend school. While everybody's still in Philly, we host like a brunch or dinner where there's no educational element to that. That's really just like a social, have fun, see your friends before you go back to school event. And then same thing for the holiday party, social based event. So we try to balance educational opportunities with these more fun social opportunities, just to give them access to the community year round. And we have a great platform. I don't want to not mention this. We have an amazing online community platform that we've built where they can actually message each other right through the platform. We post all of our events on there. We post like if we get any breaking news, there's been a lot of changes with student loan relief, that kind of thing. So any information that we think is helpful, we can funnel to them right through that community. And it's actually an app on their phone. So they get a push notification when we share something. So that's been huge for engagement for us.
Yeah, well, I have 2 questions. One is, are they mostly, are they graduating most of them in 4 years?
Yes, I would say the large majority graduates in 4 years. Oh, some of them are enrolled in 5-year programs, so naturally that's 5-year graduation rate. If there's a transfer, of course, certainly that will delay things, but I would say the large majority are 4 years, yeah.
That's
and many of them are going on to graduate programs as well. Or some of them take a break, do their career for a while, and then we hear from them again, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go do graduate school, and we're able to provide recommendations, and it's nice to be able to stay engaged through all this time, because we see them at each phase of their life, really.
Yeah. And my other question is that, so for this, do you have something built in for when they hit a crisis? Because I would imagine with this population, you've got so many that somebody must just hit a really serious block. Like, I hate this, I can't do this, I want to go home.
Yeah.
Do you have a kind of mechanism to help them through that?
So we have certain resources at the leadership camp specifically. We always have mental health professionals on hand, because we're digging deep into things sometimes. For some people, it gets really deep really quickly. So we always have a mental health expert or 2 at camp that's available for one-on-one conversations, as well as giving mental health programming. So we've done a lot of virtual programming on how to deal with stressors and how to manage your mental health, and how to implement self-care, and how to know, most importantly, when to ask for help. Because sometimes that can be the real difference, knowing when to ask for help instead of things getting so far gone that it's maybe too late to ask for the help. So we don't. But that said, we know the limitations to our abilities as well. We are not mental health professionals. We are not the crisis center at the college, right? So we have a list of resources and we'll point them in the right direction. And we say the same thing to our mentors. You cannot fix everything. Do not feel expected to fix everything. If things have escalated, contact us and then we get involved and we point them in the right direction. But we don't try to be like the cure-all.
Yeah, amazing.
Are most of the students like 17, 18 when they come in, or are there any that they've had a little break and maybe they're in their early 20s and they're finally starting an undergrad?
So we actually do have, I would say the large majority are 17, 18. But we do have, this year we had our first gap year student. So she applied to the scholarship, but told us that she was taking a gap year to do different educational opportunities around the world. So she's like going to Europe, she's going to, Shelly, maybe you've read, she gives like 30 places. She's taking a semester at sea. She's doing like, she's going on like a cruise where they're gonna help people and also learn at the same time. So it's a very, like, we have a very diverse community of people, and we thought it was important to have that representation in the community too, as gap years are definitely becoming more common. There's a certain amount of financial resources that need to be raised for college maybe to be successful or possible for students. So we allow people to apply up to the age of 20. I think it's advertised as 25, but it never gets that high. Really, most of them are seniors or first year college students. That's the way we put the stipulations around, is you have to be a high school senior or a first year college student at the time of application. So you can't jump in when you're already a junior, because the community just wouldn't develop organically if there was such a wide gap in where people are.
And how do they find out about HIP?
So we do a lot of on the ground marketing, but a lot of word of mouth. So now that we've been around for nearly a decade, a lot of our students come from referral. We keep it blind for the committee so that we're not being biased. So we say very clearly in the application, don't tell us. You can just say you heard it from a friend. But we measure, how they've heard about us through the application process, and we've built relationships with a lot of the counselors in the Philly high schools and the suburban high schools over the years. So most of them now, we're in their paperwork, and we do a big mailing every year to the schools, and we actually send them, digital campaigns, and we do phone calls as well. And we've made great relationships with programs like Heights and 12+, where we let them know, because they're already working with high school students, make sure that they know that this funding opportunity is available to them. And it's sticky for a lot of those organizations because we are focused to Philly and greater Philadelphia area, so they're not competing nationwide.
About how many applications do you get?
Hundreds. Yeah, so I would say what makes it to the committee is usually somewhere around 150. We do a certain amount of filtering of applications ahead of time. If there's just not enough substance there, we'll pull it, or if something disqualifies them, maybe they didn't read the guidelines carefully enough, that kind of thing. So what actually gets reviewed by our entire committee, which is a committee of 10, is 150 applications annually.
And who's on the committee?
We kind of keep it discreet.
Where
do they come from?
Professionals,
Professionals. We actually have an alumni representative on the committee every year as well, because we think it's important to have that perspective. Shelly and myself, of course, and then just people that have connected to the organization throughout the year.
Yeah, we've had some teachers, and it's a nice mix of career based people, or people who have had experience with students in the past. And like Jen said, now that it's the big thrill is watching these kids age up so that they're now part of like the leadership of what's happening. We have another student who actually does outreach all the time to every single one of the students. It's what her job is with us, to make sure that someone touches these kids all the time. That's how we know really a lot about their life, besides us. Trust me, our cell phones are very busy. But it's a joy, mostly. Around 11 o'clock at night.
They're teachable moments. They don't have to do anything at 10. They're like, it's so weird. I'm having issues with my scholarship showing up on my application. And I'll give them an answer, but then I'll let them know, most of the things in your life, people aren't going to be available at 9 o'clock. Here's great hours to reach out to somebody. But it's little things like that we all maybe, take for granted as having existed in this version of the world for a long time, that they're just not privy to. So anytime we can give them a tip, like even as small as that, we try to.
So here's a question from the fundraiser in the room. Are you looking, what is your source of funding in terms of breakdown, individuals, grants from foundations, et cetera?
So we are on the smaller side, so we are not qualified for a lot of the grant opportunities that are out there just because our operating budget is under $500,000 a year. So we are mostly publicly supported through corporate donations, individual donations. I would say 80% of it is individual donations. Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Rotary's program RILA?
I'm not.
It's very similar, but it's nationwide. I think it's something worth maybe looking into because maybe they could help support or fund in some way.
Yeah, our RYLA,
and it's through the Rotary.
Perfect.
I have a family member who's there at their camps every year. It's really inspired by the same kind population, same kind of student, and just a lot of success.
That's great to know. Yeah, we're always looking to build. We're very much and Shelley would say the same, we're a stronger together mentality. So we do a lot of work with existing organizations where we understand there's a certain amount of competition for funding, but at the end of the day, we're all trying to help students. So whatever we can do to maximize those efforts is what matters.
We do have a question from the chat. One of the members is wondering, are there different ways that you measure student outcomes or measure success aside from just, I guess graduation would be the big one.
Yeah, so graduation, as I mentioned, persistence and enrollment. There's a database called the National Student Clearinghouse where we have enough information on each of the students in our program that we can actually run reports through that organization and we get back their enrollment. So we can see if they're enrolled part-time, half-time, full-time. If for some reason somebody loses touch with the organization, we can see did they fall out of the attendance pattern, and then that gives us even more context. Reach out to that person. We would never say, we noticed you're not enrolled, but we would say, hey, we wanted to check in. How are you doing? We've not heard from you in a while. So we use that information primarily. And then we actually do surveys through this program with University of Virginia as well, where we measure their confidence, their own personal gauge of their health, their involvement in their communities while they're enrolled in college. And then after graduation, we actually do a career survey as well. So we let them, it's anonymous in that we don't get each student's name, but they report their jobs and their income and their involvement now that they're in their corporate element of their life. So we have consistent data on each touch point through the students.
Awesome. And I was also curious about what your capacity has looked like and will look like. So right now you said it's about 30 students per cohort.
Yep.
Is that the plan, or is the plan to expand that?
Shelley, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're holding right now.
I think, what we realize that our really strength is building connections. And when you get bigger, it's harder to make these deep connections with these kids. So, we're already bigger than we used to be. And so it's been a big trick to figure out how to keep the older kids involved and weaving them in with the younger ones, but not having them overwhelm the system so much that the younger ones don't have the opportunity to make those deep connections. So we can go bigger, but we really try to hold to this number because we feel like, when you figure 30 kids a year, that's already 120 students, right, in a 4-year package. And that's a lot of kids. So, I don't really think that would serve us well in really making the impact we're trying to make on each individual student and do it well.
Thank you.
But we can mention we are doing something bigger community wise. You want to just do like a 2-second thing so in case they hear about Philly Service Award.
Sure. Or yeah, if you maybe you notice there on your way in or on your way out, you can look up. There's a very large sign outside that says the Philly Service Award. So now that we've had all of this success with working with individual students, we did just launch another initiative this year, separate nonprofit organization, Philly Service Award. And we are funding each high school in Philadelphia, and this is in Greater Philly, this is just Philly proper. Each high school in Philadelphia gets $1,000 to develop and execute a community service project of their choice. So we wanted to put the change into the hands of the people that live in the community and best understand what the community needs. And each school that participates in this will have the chance then to submit their project at the end of the year for the opportunity to win potentially $20,000, which would then fund improvements to their school. So we're trying to improve the city and then on the other end, improve the schools.
And give some of the schools that are underfunded the same opportunity and the same amount of money with the schools that have much more significant funding, so that these kids really have an opportunity to shine equally, which is a hard thing to see happen. But we see through these kids watching the last 10 years, you know, the value of community service, instead of them feeling like they're the community service project themselves, that they're actually directing that, you know, power out, and that they know that they can be the change agents for their communities. And like Jen said, they know it well. And so we're really excited. And a lot of our students from this organization are on the Young Adult Advisory Board. So they really help us know how to talk to students in school. And it's doing sort of what you're saying, in that it's expanding, you know, the energy of community service and taking a positive light and shining it on Philadelphia. We're tired of hearing about these students that are doing all these negative things. There are positive kids out there that are really trying, and our city really needs positivity. So we're kind of feeling like by putting some of these pieces together in our own small way, we can help make a little bit of a give these kids the opportunity to be able to make a difference. So if you hear it this year, I think you'll probably be hearing something about it during the course of the year. Maybe at the end of the news segment, you'll see some of the kids doing a project and you'll know, oh, that's what they were talking about. Just so you hear about it.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you.
We had one more pop into the chat, a question if you work with community colleges as well as other institutions.
We do. Yep. Yeah, we actually have a large number of students enrolled in community college programs, and we are grateful for the opportunity. Sometimes they're between schools and they're not sure what their path is, and we have had a lot of students go to community and then transfer to a traditional 4-year, and we promote all the time. You can just save a lot of money and do year 1 and year 2 in community college and then transfer, and at the end of the 4 years, your degree still says Drexel, your degree still says Temple, it still says Penn State. Right. Nobody, you know, is mindful that you had to go through community college first and you're getting access. They're great educational institutions, but there's a stigma on them because of perception from people in their lives. So it doesn't always have to be, you know, the top 2% institution. There's a lot of really great educational opportunities. So we try to help talk through some of those decisions with them.
Beacon is the premier executive networking organization serving the Mid-Atlantic region. To learn more, go to beaconforlife.org.